Welcome to Week 2 of the Iowa Conference Series 2027 here on YouTube, and we have had an exciting weeks 0 and 1 so far. We're going to have another great week here in Week 2. But before we get into this week's matchups and last week's results, big shout out to Don Bosco's Evan McCormick Jr., the defensive end / linebacker for my Dons. In his first career start, is the National Defensive Player of the Week. He had 5 tackles, 3 sacks, and a forced fumble that led to a defensive touchdown for his teammate Carson Patterson in that blowout win at Maryland. So a very deserving award for Evan McCormick Jr. as he's the National Defensive Player of the Week in his first career start. And now let's take a look at the Week 1 results. Of course, 3 user teams were in action. Starmont with a bye in Week 1. Cedar Falls with an impressive win as they beat Mississippi State at home 35-14. Don Bosco dominant as they go to Maryland and win 51-12. Solon with a very impressive win. They beat Texas A&M on the road 38-21. Central City gets past Cedar Rapids Kennedy 48-21. Iowa City High with a huge win as they're ranked now at 23 after beating Texas 35-6. Williamsburg gets past Grundy Center in conference action 41-24. Coach Witchery's Go Hawks beat East Carolina on the road 49-28. In the Battle of Waterloo, Columbus, the Sailors beat Waterloo East 37-6. Tulane gets the better of Cedar Rapids Prairie 27-14, and in conference action, it's a tight win for Waterloo West as they beat Iowa City West 25-23. And now here's a look at this week's matchup in conference play. Not a whole lot of conference games going on this week, but plenty of conference teams in action and non-conference play. First up, Gladbrook-Rhinebeck should have an easy one as they host FCS West. Central City is at home as they will host the Memphis Tigers. Iowa City High, their first game after being ranked, they are in Iowa City as they will take on Tulane. In a user matchup, Cedar Falls is at home as they will host Air Force. Another user game, Waverly-Shell Rock in conference action as they host Cedar Rapids Kennedy. Waterloo West in non-conference play will take on Ole Miss. Iowa City West plays host to Grundy Center in conference action. Non-conference play is my Don Bosco Dons welcome Kennesaw State. Another FCS matchup is Waterloo East hosts an FCS squad. And conference play to wrap up the week is Cedar Rapids Prairie will be at Williamsburg. So we've got a great list of matchups here, including 3 user games. Starmont is off again this week. They have another bye here in Week 2. But 3 teams in action. Let's go ahead and get to the field as Cedar Falls will host the United States Air Force Academy, the Falcons. Let's get out to Tiger Stadium. And we'll start here at Tiger Stadium as Cedar Falls hosting Air Force, but that's a mistake for the Tigers in this scoreless tie as it's intercepted by the Falcons. Air Force gets the football after the interception. Low-scoring affair here so far. It's back to the Tigers as Madison in trouble and taken down for a sack. A big loss there as Adam Madison taken down by Siaki Westerman. But on 4th and goal from the 1, Madison uses his big 6'2 frame to fall across the goal line. And finally, the Tigers get on the board as they lead Air Force 7-0 here shortly before the break. Air Force trying to get something going, but that's a big sack. Ulysses Washington, the 4th, gets back there and makes the play for the big loss as Cedar Falls forces Air Force to punt back at their own 6-yard line. On there to return is going to be Stan Jordan. He's got some good blocking. He's going to get to the outside. He could go all the way. He's at the 20, 15, 10, finally brought down at the 6, and what a huge play as with 29 seconds to go until the half. The Tigers are just 6 yards away, and Madison's going to pick up all 6 of them right there. His second rushing touchdown of the day, and Adam Madison has almost single-handedly got the Tigers up to a 14-0 lead. Of course, the huge punt return there helped set that up. Second half now as Madison's going to keep using his legs. He gets out of the pocket, up across midfield, a big-time gain there down to the 43-yard line. Cedar Falls trying to get the offense moving here. There's a big gain. It's 2nd and goal now as Madison finds a target. That's caught, and it's a touchdown. Jay Kumar, the reliable tight end, gets it into the end zone for Cedar Falls as they extend their lead here 21-0. 4th quarter now. Falcons desperately trying to get something going, but that's going to be intercepted. A pick for Cedar Falls, a big-time play there as they will take the football after the interception. A big defensive play for the Tigers as they lead 21-0 here. Play action passes intercepted, but there is a flag, so we'll see if that comes back. But for the moment, it's an interception, and it looks like it's going to be holding an eligible man downfield, in fact, against Cedar Falls, so the interception stands. Air Force trying to get on the board here, 4th down and long, and that's an interception in the back of the end zone. That one is picked off by Kayvon Justice. The corner out of Oklahoma gets the interception for Cedar Falls, as that's going to be a 21-0 Kind of a defensive slugfest win there for the Tigers, but it's a good win, and they stay undefeated. They're 2-0. And we're here at GoHawk Stadium as Waverly-Shell Rock opens conference play against Cedar Rapids Kennedy, and that's big trouble for the Cougars as Manny Hammer gets back there for the sack. Check out the old school helmet on Hammer. That's a nice touch. GoHawk football now as they look to break the scoreless tie. Hermanson gets it over to Lucas O'Doyle, and they will do just that. A 25-yard strike as Waverly-Shell Rock gets on the board first, and they lead the Cougars 7-0 here in Waverly. The GoHawks trying to start 1-0 in conference play, 2-0 overall here in Week 2. But the Cougars, they're going to fight back here. Outside run, goes to the end zone, and Kennedy gets on the board. Cedar Rapids Kennedy ties the game at 7 here in this big-time conference matchup. One of the first conference games of the season. Back to the GoHawks now as Hermanson sends a man in motion. It's a jet sweep handoff to Juan Vons, the sophomore receiver out of Pensacola, Florida. Look at the speed, and he's going to go all the way. An 86-yard touchdown run for Vons. That's a massive play for the GoHawks as they lead 14-7 now over Kennedy. What a play for Waverly-Shell Rock. That'll flip the momentum. Kennedy trying to punch back here. Throw made over to the sideline, but that's a massive mistake. It's intercepted, and that's going to be a touchdown, a pick six for Brock Cassidy, who returns it into the end zone. And in a matter of a couple of plays, Waverly-Shell Rock has flipped this game on its head as they lead 21-7 over Kennedy. A huge defensive touchdown 2 weeks in a row with a pick six for the GoHawks. Kennedy trying to get something going, but look at that. Manny Hammer gets there instantly. Massive breakdown in the pass block there as Hammer gets back to the quarterback right away. And now it's going to be third and very long. 3rd and 19 for the Cougars. And now the ball's loose. It's even worse for the Cougars as it is fallen on by one of the Kennedy linemen, but that's a safety there in the end zone. It's 23-7 GoHawks now. Kennedy trying to get back on the board here with less than 2 minutes to go until the break. And that will get the job done. It's a 31-yard touchdown strike as Kennedy gets some badly needed momentum on that touchdown reception. But Waverly-Shell Rock with 19 seconds until halftime, they're still fighting. That pass is caught, and Vons has a receiving touchdown. He already ran for a massive touchdown earlier today, and now he gets into the end zone through the air as Waverly-Shell Rock gets a big score before the break. And now here late third quarter, they'll go to the fullback. Hugh Krause, the freshman out of Nashville, gets in for a touchdown. And Waverly-Shell Rock is all over Kennedy here. They lead 37-14 after the extra point. Things seem to be well in hand, but the Cougars are still fighting. 2nd down and 3 here. A deep shot, and that's going to be caught, and nobody's going to get them. Touchdown Cougars as Kennedy trying to get some momentum back with that big play. And they will go for 2 to try to crack into this lead a little bit further here, down 37-20 in the 4th quarter. The Cougars send a man in motion. It's a pop pass, and that's going to be a touchdown, untouched into the end zone for Kennedy, and they are back within a couple of scores here. They did score again, and now they're down 37-29, but now it's getting very late. 2 more chances for Kennedy. They go to the end zone, but that's just thrown away, incomplete, and this is going to be the last chance for the Cougars. 4th and 10, 17 yards out. They're down 8. They need a touchdown in the 2-point conversion to tie the game. Last chance for the Cougars. Looking end zone. Hit as he throws, but it's caught. Touchdown Kennedy. Touchdown for Cedar Rapids Kennedy, and they're a 2-point conversion away from tying the game. What a switch of events here. An incredible comeback by Kennedy, but this 2-point conversion is for all the marbles. Pass over the middle. Big hit made. Incomplete, and that's going to do it. Waverly-Shell Rock holds on, and they're going to win it. 37-35 there, as now we'll flip gears over to Don Bosco and Kennesaw State. The Dons with the football first. Jerron Sunday with a nice carry here. We'll look at the juke move, and that's going to be a nice little gain there. 1st down and 10 after that run. Ball up to the 46 here. Fitzgerald gets out of the pocket. Pass is complete to Anwar Johnson, who's got a good gain. Juke move there, and he gets it across midfield down to the 38-yard line. Big gain there for Don Bosco. And here comes Jerron Sunday again. Blocking's there, and he's going to go all the way. 24 yards for a touchdown. And how about that for a start for Don Bosco as they get on the board first. They lead 7-0. The Owls trying to make something happen now if they have the football. There's a good run. That's a big gain for the Owls, in fact, as the free safety, Nick Willies, is finally the one that gets down there to make the stop. That's a big gain, and now on 3rd and goal, they're going to go out of the Wildcat. It's a pop pass, and that's going to be a touchdown. Touchdown for the Owls. That's a huge response for Kennesaw State as they respond in a big way, and they are tied with Don Bosco at 7. Don Bosco with the football back, trying to make a play. Fitzgerald gets out of the pocket, looking down the field, and he finds C.J. Major, who was open all the time last week. That's another big gain into Owl territory late in the first quarter. The Dons now, second quarter. Anwar Johnson takes the handoff, and he's going to go in for a touchdown. Johnson scores for the Dons to get them back in front. They lead the Owls 14-7 here in the second quarter from Tom Ryan Field in Gilbertville. Home opener for the Don Bosco Dons here today. As Jerron Sunday gets the ball back on 4th down, they go for it. That's going to be a conversion, and that brings us to the 2-minute warning. Don Bosco leading 14-7, trying to make it 21-7. Fitzgerald in the pocket finds Lane Gilmore, and that's a touchdown. Don Bosco extends their lead before the break as they are up 21-7 on Kennesaw State. As less than a minute to go, the Owls still trying to make something happen. Quarterback back in the pocket, but that's trouble, and that's going to be a sack for James Fortune III as he gets back there to make the play. Second half now, Don's up 21-7. Kennesaw State trying to make something happen. Pass thrown over the middle, but it's intercepted. A big-time play there. Exodus Ayers with the pick and plenty of room to run on the return. He gets it all the way down to the 21. Ayers, the transfer, already his second pick in Game 2 here. Had one last week. There's his first this week. Now the Dons running a little triple option. Fitzgerald pitches it back to Johnson. He's got the angle, and he's going to go in for a touchdown from 21 yards out. Anwar Johnson scores his second touchdown of the day. And the Dons with a big 28-7 lead over the Owls. Second down and 6 here for Kennesaw State. It's going to be a play-action pass, and look out, there comes the reigning National Defensive Player of the Week, Evan McCormick. He gets back there for the sack. So now it's 3rd and long for the Owls, 3rd and 12. But they're going to go down the field. They've got a man, and that's going to be a touchdown. A huge mistake for Don Bosco. It's a breakdown in the defensive secondary, and Don Bosco gives up a score, and they're only leading by 2 scores now, 28-14. But they're going to try to respond here. Fitzgerald slings one way down the field. Michael Hilton, what a grab. It's kind of his specialty. The big 6'5 speedster jumps up and high points that one for the first down. And now they're going to send a man in motion. It's a pop pass to Lane Gilmore. He's already got a touchdown today. Can he get another? Not quite, as he's knocked down at the 2-yard line. A good pickup there for Gilmore. And now here comes Michael Hilton. Same play going the other way, and he will get in for a touchdown. Touchdown Dons. Michael Hilton gets in from 2 yards out, and that's a big response after the defense had an error and gave up the big play. Don Bosco leads 35-14 entering the fourth quarter. The Owls still desperately trying to make something happen, but that won't help as Jamron Weston gets back there for the sack. The senior linebacker gets back there and makes the play, and now it's 4th down. Can the Owls stay on the field? They can this time, as that's going to be caught. Ayers makes the tackle, but it's going to be 1st and goal back at the 7. And now the Owls trying to make a play. 3rd and goal. Getting out of the pocket, but Duncan Stockton is there for Don Bosco as he gets back there to make the play. It's going to be 4th and goal, and it's desperation time now for the Owls. As if they have any shot, they have to score here. To the end zone, it's going to be intercepted. Exodus Ayers with the pick, and he's going to take it out of the end zone. And he's got some speed. He's got the angle. He might go all the way. It's a foot race between him and the quarterback. 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown Dons. Exodus Ayers goes 100-plus yards in his second game with the Dons. He's already got 3 picks, and now a 100-yard pick six. As any small chance the Owls had is gone with that play. And the Don defense is still making plays as McCormick gets back there for Don Bosco's 5th sack of the day. And Don Bosco gets it done 42-14. It wasn't always pretty, but in the end, they get the win over Kennesaw State. They're 2-0. And finally, let's take an updated look at the conference standings. Only one conference game has been played by a user team so far, and that is Waverly-Shell Rock. So they are by default atop the standings with their 1-0 record, 2-0 overall. Don Bosco and Cedar Falls tied for second at 2-0. Neither of them have played a conference game. And with Starmont taking 2 bye weeks, they are 1-0 overall, and they are tied for 4th technically, but Starmont not really a team you think of in last place, so I think they'll be okay. So all 4 teams will be back in action next week as conference or non-conference play kind of wraps up for the most part. as we will have 4 more great matchups for you coming up next week in Week 3, so come back for that one. We'll have that for you next time right here in the Iowa Conference Series here on YouTube. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.